evening, dear viewers. Thank you for joining us on the last edition of the 7 p.m. news for this week and, of course, the month of October. We begin this edition with the sad note of Professor Mabu Mabu, lecturer at the Advanced School of Mass Communication, that's ASMAC, and Technical Advisor number 2 at the Ministry of Communication, who passed away on September 27th at the Yaoundé General Hospital, has begun his final journey yesterday, October 29, 2020. The late professor remains were removed from the mortuary of the Yaoundé General Hospital earlier yesterday, after which it was taken to the Ministry of Communication for honors. He will be laid to rest tomorrow, Saturday, October 31st, in his native Baham West region of the country. According to Monique Mabu, wife of the deceased, the husband has been sick for a long while. Speaking to colleagues, she said the late professor went to France last year in the month of October for treatment. He came back 3 weeks ago and relapsed on Sunday, September 19th. Then he was taken to the Yaoundé General Hospital the following day, and a week after he succumbed to his health failure. Many, especially his students and colleagues of the Advanced School of Mass Communication, are yet to come to terms with his departure. Late Professor Mabu would have been 60 years old on November 29th. May his soul rest in peace. The Square striker in France, Stéphane Bahoken, who had been charged earlier on for gross domestic violence upon his partner and dangerous driving and, of course, endangering people's lives, is expected in court today, whereby he might be handed over a suspended prison sentence. And according to reports, the Cameroonian striker will accept the proposed prison sentence, which will be a 4-month suspended prison sentence and respective fines for both faults of 2,000 euros, which is over 1.3 million francs CFA, and 6,875 euros, over 4.5 million francs. Stéphane was arrested on October 27, 2020 in Saint-James-sur-Loire and placed under police custody at the Angers Gendarmerie Brigade on account he brutalized and threatened his partner. Given his dramatic episodes back in France, the son of former Indomitable Lion Stéphane Bahoken may see his chances in the national team squad compromised, with the Indomitable Lions playing a double confrontation match with Mozambique on November 12 and 16, 2020 in a qualification encounter for the upcoming 2020 AFCON, which is the tournament hosted by Cameroon. Cameroon Prime Minister Chief Dr. Joseph Dion Ngouté has urged African youths to fight so as to reposition the continent on the global scene. Just like the fight for the liberation of France and the independence of their various countries, Chief Dr. Joseph Dion Ngouté was talking on October 28, 2020 at Congo-Brazzaville on the occasion of the start of the International Colloquium organized in Congo-Brazzaville to mark her 80 years of declaration and 60 years of her independence. The Prime Minister, in his capacity, represented the head of state, President Paul Biya, at the summit, which has brought together heads of state and, of course, heads of government of the Central African sub-regions, as well as the representative of the French President Emmanuel Macron and international organization. These leaders were unanimous on the important role played by Brazzaville and the entire French Equatorial Africa in the liberation of France during the Second World War. The French Foreign Minister Jean-Yves, who is the personal representative of Emmanuel Macron, said France will not be where it is today without the support of French Equatorial Africa. Central African leaders on their part said it is time for Africa to rise to her full potentials. Chief Joseph Dion Ngouté marked that Africa at all times has been the main provider of the world. Ivory Coast is gearing up for Saturday's presidential election as campaigns keeps the city live from different candidates. Of all the 4 candidates cleared to run by the Constitutional Court, only 2 have been out on the street campaigning: incumbent President Alassane Ouattara and the independent candidate Kouadio Konan Bertin. Opposition leaders Pascal Affi-N'Guessa and Henry Konan Bedi have called for a boycott of the elections, as they say amendments introduced in 2016 allowing Ouattara to run for a third term are unconstitutional. The government wants to reassure voters the poll will happen and 35,000 security forces will be on standby to ensure post-election violence scenes in 2010 and 2011 does not repeat. The contested presidential results back then claimed more than 3,000 lives after the former president Laurent Gbagbo declared victory in the second round. Also, his main challenger Alassane Ouattara did the same. Violence has also fled since Ouattara announced his candidacy for this year's election, sparking fears of instability in the country, which is the world's top cocoa producer. Algeria's mosque, the world's third biggest and Africa's largest, hosted its first public prayers on Wednesday, a year and a half after construction was completed. Known locally as the Jama El Jazer, the modernist structure extends across 27.75 hectares and is smaller only than the two mosques in Mecca and Medina, Islam's holiest site in Saudi Arabia. To its critics, the mosque is a vanity project and a symbol of the megalomania of former autocrat Bouteflika, who was forced out in April last year after mass street protests against his two-decade-long rule. President Abdelmadjid Tebboune had been expected to inaugurate the mosque prayer hall, whose maximum capacity is 120,000 at the event on October 28, 2020. On the eve of the birthday of the Prophet Muhammad, but his presence was in doubt after his office announced the day before that he had been hospitalized. Tebboune had gone into self-isolation last week following suspected coronavirus cases among his aides, but the presidency said on Tuesday that Tebboune's state of health does not raise any concern. It was unclear how many people would be allowed to attend the prayers amid the novel coronavirus pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, it is on this note that we draw curtains to the 7 p.m. news on Reflect Africa Television. Thank you for staying with us to the end. We see you on Monday for another edition at midday. Have a good weekend.